Everyone in the hall was watching closely as the Grandmaster strolled through the crowd with quiet confidence. Known for his unbeatable record and sharp tongue, he paused in front of a woman sitting quietly near the edge of the room. She looked. Simple worn jeans, soft sweater, not the type you'd expect at a high-level chess event. With a half-smile and a tone that drew a few chuckles from the audience, he held out a challenge. Care for a game? It was clear many thought he was joking, maybe even trying to get a laugh at her expense. The woman looked up, surprised, but calmly accepted. As they sat down at the board, whispers rippled through the room. No one knew her name. She hadn't entered any tournaments, hadn't spoken much to anyone. But there was something in her eyes as she picked up the first pawn. Quiet focus. Maybe even something stronger. The first few moves seemed harmless enough. The Grandmaster leaned back, amused. But then her strategy began to unfold. A few pieces shifted, and suddenly the smile on his face faded. People leaned in closer. The light mood in the room was slowly replaced by something heavier: curiosity. Maybe even a little tension. What no one realized yet was that this simple woman had just stepped into the game with a plan no one saw coming. And what happened over the next few minutes would leave even the most seasoned players questioning everything they thought they knew. The murmurs grew louder as people started gathering around the board, drawn in by the surprising moves she was making. The Grandmaster, usually quick and confident, began to hesitate. His fingers hovered over the pieces longer than usual, his forehead showing the slightest crease. Something was off, and even he could feel it. Who was this woman? No one knew her background, and she hadn't even been on the event's guest list. She had just walked in quietly, like any other spectator, blending into the crowd without drawing attention. Someone whispered that she might be a local teacher. Another guessed she was just lucky. But with each passing move, it became clear that luck had little to do with what was happening. Her strategy wasn't random. It was precise, methodical, something only someone with deep experience and training could pull off. A few younger players stepped closer, exchanging confused looks, while others took out their phones to record what was quickly becoming a moment no one wanted to miss. The woman remained calm. She didn't smile, didn't gloat. Her eyes stayed on the board, scanning every move with quiet intensity. The Grandmaster leaned back slightly, tapping the table once, his ego clearly rattled. It wasn't just a game anymore, it was a test, and he had no idea how far she would push him. Each piece she touched seemed to carry weight, as if every move was leading to something none of them were ready for yet. The atmosphere in the hall grew heavier with each move. The Grandmaster, known for dismantling opponents in under 20 moves, now sat silent, his fingers nervously drumming against the edge of the board. His fans in the crowd looked unsettled, exchanging puzzled glances. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. What began as a light-hearted moment, simple woman, invited as a joke to entertain the audience, had turned into a high-stakes mental battle that no one could have predicted. Meanwhile, whispers spread like wildfire. A few chess bloggers at the back began typing furiously, sensing a viral story unfolding. Some speculated that she might be a retired chess prodigy. Others believed she was taught by someone legendary. But the woman gave away nothing. No flashy gestures, no words, just quiet determination and eyes that never strayed from the board. From the side, a teenage girl in the audience watched with awe, clutching her own small chess set. Her mother leaned in, whispering, "See, you never know who carries greatness inside." That sentence hung in the air, resonating with many. Even the event organizers, who initially rolled their eyes at the match, now stood frozen, unsure whether to call it off or let it play out. The Grandmaster wiped his brow, clearly under pressure. She had just made a move that cornered his knight and disrupted his entire middle game strategy. The crowd gasped. He leaned in, staring at the board, while She sat back calmly, waiting. No one dared speak now. A heavy silence settled over the hall, the kind that made every tick of the clock echo louder than it should. The Grandmaster's hand hovered in midair, hesitating, something he had never been known to do. He studied the board again and again, but the pieces no longer seemed to move in his favor. The woman sitting across from him appeared calm and collected. Her confidence wasn't loud, but it was firm, and that alone shifted the mood of the entire audience. People leaned forward in their chairs, gripping their programs tightly. A few spectators had even started recording on their phones, sensing they were about to witness something rare. Journalists whispered excitedly in the press section, already drafting headlines in their minds. Unknown woman shocks chess world or Grandmaster caught off guard. No one knew her name yet, but they would soon. The Grandmaster, still trying to mask his growing frustration, moved his rook defensively, clearly shaken. The woman took only a few seconds before sliding her queen into position quietly, smoothly, but with purpose. It was another move that left the Grandmaster with limited options. Narrowing the path before him, in the crowd, murmurs turned to stunned silence. Was this really happening? The tension in the room had turned electric, as if everyone was holding their breath. Even the commentators, usually quick to analyze each move, were speechless. And through it all, the woman steady. Gaze never broke. She had come to play, and now the whole room knew it. Just when the Grandmaster thought he had regained a sliver of control, the woman leaned in slightly, her eyes scanning the board with quiet intensity. Then, without a word, she made a move that sent ripples through the room, a bishop sweep that revealed a subtle but deadly trap he hadn't even seen forming. A collective gasp ran through the audience. The Grandmaster stiffened. It wasn't just the move, it was the preparation behind it. This wasn't beginner's luck. It was strategy, and it had been unfolding from the very first turn. Backstage, the tournament organizers exchanged uneasy glances. This game, which was meant to be a light-hearted showpiece, had turned into something far more serious. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second as tension thickened like fog. Commentators scrambled to analyze the move, one whispering, "That setup. It's a variation of the Karpov defense, but tweaked. Who is she?" Then came the twist that no one expected. A man in the third row stood up suddenly, eyes wide. "That's Alina Petrova," he said, loud enough for others to hear. The name hit like a shockwave. Some recognized it immediately. In Eastern European prodigy who vanished from competitive chess a decade ago after a scandal that never made full headlines. The rumors had been wild, but no one ever confirmed what really happened. Now she was here, seated across from the Grandmaster, taking apart his game in front of the world. And with every piece she moved, she wasn't just playing chess, she was making a statement. The Grandmaster's fingers hovered over his final piece, sweat visible along his temple. He had underestimated her completely, and now the board looked like a battlefield he had already lost. Elena's gaze didn't waver, steady and calm, as if she'd been here 1,000 times before. Each person in the audience leaned forward, not daring to blink. The silence was so deep that even the ticking of the clock seemed deafening. With a reluctant sigh, he made a desperate move, one last attempt to stall what felt inevitable. But she didn't hesitate. Her hand moved gracefully, capturing his queen with a quiet click that echoed through the hall. Checkmate. Gasps filled the room, followed by stunned silence. Then, a slow clap started from the back, first one person, then a wave, until the entire room erupted into applause. The Grandmaster stood up, visibly shaken but respectful, and offered her a handshake. But just as the cheers reached their peak, another voice cut through. "That's not all she's here for. someone announced from near the judge's table. A woman stepped forward, revealing a folder of news clippings, tournament records, and letters. She was disqualified years ago, not for cheating, but for exposing it, she said. She was silenced. The crowd turned from shock to outrage. Cameras panned to Alina, who stood tall, holding her own truth after years of being hidden. In that moment, it wasn't just a game that had been won, it was justice reclaimed. In front of everyone who once doubted her. As the clapping slowly settled, Alina took a step back from the table, her eyes scanning the crowd. For years, she had played quietly in the shadows, hiding her skill after the unfair scandal that stole her chance. But now, with the truth out in the open and the Grandmaster himself bowing in respect, there was nothing left to hide. The audience wasn't just cheering her victory on the board, they were cheering her resilience, her strength, and the truth that had finally come to light. Reporters rushed in with questions, but Alina politely declined. She wasn't interested in fame or proving anything anymore. She'd already done that. The Grandmaster, clearly moved, apologized publicly for doubting her and invited her to join the international tournament not as a guest, but as a competitor. This time, on her own terms.